to start the grand finals of the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2023 with Maru versus Oliveira. So it's all going to come down to this moment. They've had to prep their builds. They've had to go over exactly how they're going to approach each map. Will there be cheese? Will it be a macro game? But it's now or never, Artosis.
Yep, the map is loading up. We're going to go to Dragon Scales first. A very important game number 1 in this best of 7. Let's get it started.
Down here in the bottom right, in the red, he is Maru. And his opponent in the upper left, in the blue, from China, he is Oliveira!
Right now, right here, game number 1. This is where you set the pace for how you are going to approach this match. I feel like it is a very important game for Oliveira because Maru has so much experience in grand finals, right? He's won so many top-tier tournaments. For Oliveira, like, he hasn't done that, but he's beaten the players who have. He has played completely solidly. He has mixed in a lot of tricky stuff as well. What are we going to see from him? What does he do in the most important match, literally, that you can ever have in StarCraft 2?
It's going to be so interesting to see. And I think you're 100% right, Artosis. I don't think that Maru's heart rate changes at all as he walks onto the big stage in one of the most important moments in his StarCraft career. But for Oliveira, you know, obviously he's a player who comes into tournaments like this, I think with the best attitude you can have, which is, I'm going to get as far as I can, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he's gotten farther than pretty much anybody else. He's now here with Maru, the last 2 players left.
Yeah, and how do you hold in your excitement? How do you keep those nerves steady? Well, he's done it so far. He's come from behind against the best players in the world, world champions, giant tournament champions, without any problem. So I don't know what it is about Oliveira that has changed, but it feels like he is up to the task.
So we've got the 2 players scouting each other out right now. Nothing too crazy so far as far as builds. We didn't have any proxies. We didn't have any super greedy expansion plays. But for now, we're just going to see both players tech up to the factory.
That's right. A quicker reactor here for Maru, so going to give a little boost to his production while Oliveira just continues to make Reapers 1 at a time. Command centers on the way at exactly the same time as well. Very, very similar builds, but not 100% the same.
And there are many different branches from this point here in the build that they can go into. So we're going to wait a little bit more and then kind of see what direction this game's going to go. We have both players taking a command center. That's very standard. But TVT over the last couple of years has proven to have some very interesting and sometimes very scrappy two-base fights.
Yeah, and in fact, we could see something like that here. For instance, if we just keep going on the production of Hellion Reaper for Maru, then that reactor will kick in, and he'll actually have more Reapers than Oliveira. That might be a time that he wants to attack.
As the game goes on here, the Reapers are going to be gathered up over here at the entrance. Same thing over here for Maru as well. Now, we have had a game at this tournament, I can't remember off the top of my head which one it was, where both players literally went by each other on the map. The way this map is shaped, moving from the bottom to the top or from the top to the bottom, it's occasionally you can end up with one player on one side, the other on the other. So we want to watch for that here because the builds are so far similar enough, they may end up having a similar timing attack here.
Yeah, that definitely could occur. Now, we have a Cyclone coming out for Oliveira, a little bit more standard. He does have that mine at the front as well, just in case any attacks come up. Maru, on the other hand, getting that medevac very quickly as well as a siege tank. So we do see a little bit of deviation in both sides, and it seems like Maru is going to be the first one that really tries to either attack or harass his opponent.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised to see him being the first one that might be active on the map here. We do have a Raven for Oliveira about halfway to completion here. Pretty standard stuff as the medevac is going to pick up for Maru. Headed northbound over here. Meanwhile, the rest of his forces are going to be probably coming out to the ramp over at the entrance, Oliveira's base. There's a blind, I should say there was a blind spot up in the main, but he's going to go over here. He will be able to see that. It looks like the intentions here are for Maru to try to elevate our units up into the main like this. He does get the tank now up inside the medevac and then dropped off over here within range of the starport.
Ooh, this is going to be tough to break. Does he wait for a Raven spell? He sieges up a tank here. Oliveira starting to take a bit of damage on his buildings. Maru going around the outside of his base.
So far, so good here for Maru. He's splitting pretty nicely. This tank is still alive. Time may be falling apart already.
Oh man, Maru getting the kill on the siege tank as well as a lot of units, healing up a lot with this medevac as well. Maru's first attack looking so strong.
An auto turret's going to go down here as the SCVs are pulled. The tank goes down. The Hellions now being pushed up against the wall, but it's still so much damage. 8 SCVs have been taken out so far.
This is an incredible amount of damage put on from Maru to kill that many SCVs. He is way up in workers, plus 10 in that regard. There are some things going for Oliveira, like he has a couple Ravens, but this attack isn't even done yet.
This is not supposed to do this much damage already. More SCVs are going down. The tank and the Marine are going to come in here and try to chase this out, but the workers keep getting picked off.
Oh man, and already GG is called. Maru takes game number 1 about as quickly as you can in this matchup.
Okay, so I think that could have gone better for Oliveira, but you could see there were some small errors in the execution. Idea-wise, he was prepared for the possibility of a drop. It's funny because when we were casting it, we had turned off vision of each player for a second. It looked like it was going to be a drop up in the main and then maybe a push into the natural to try to kill all the workers. But then as we got vision again, we realized he's going to go what we call is like an elevator strat, or you know, the ferrying strat, where you take fill up the medevac, dump units in the main, and then fill it up again and do it. And it seemed like even though Oliveira was ready, as in he was looking for this, he didn't have the right unit comp to also deal with a tank if it was planted there. The tank was actually the special unit in that rush that made everything fall apart because the tank was kept alive, he protected it well, siege tank shots, a couple of those accumulating over time, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble, Artosis.
Yeah, let's not forget as well, after a single Reaper, he went for that reactor. That allowed him to get out 2 more Reapers and then also a bunch of Marines. Those 4 Marines in the initial medevac, definitely helping damage-wise, definitely helping to tank damage as well. So it was a very teched out rush from Maru, one that honestly didn't have a ton of danger in it for him either. And that has to be very sad for Oliveira. You know, that is a very quick loss, a disappointing one. He opened pretty standard, but just got completely outplayed.
This is a little scary for Oliveira right now because let's keep in mind, you know, not all losses feel the same, Artosis.
No.
You can have losses that in a tournament that almost feel good because you realize you're playing very well. He fell apart so quickly. And that's going to be a very tilting, very psychologically traumatic experience to lose that fast and lose like that. So he's going to have to pull it back together. Otherwise, Maru's going to keep stacking these wins and taking that trophy home.
Well, hopefully Oliveira has it in him to fight back right here, right now. It is a best of 7, so he's got some wiggle room. He's got some time to adjust. But if you let Maru go up too many maps in a row, it's going to feel overwhelming.
Game 2 starts now with Maru versus Oliveira. Right now, Maru up with a 1-0 lead. In the upper left, in the red, he is Maru. And in the bottom right, in the blue, he is Oliveira.
So we are now on Gressvon. Let's see what these openers are going to be. It looks like Maru does want to do a double barracks proxy opener. So he is sending out 2 early SCVs, going to make a couple barracks. Is this going to be Reaper? I mean, we have seen some craziness like proxy Marauder builds from Hero Marine, but I bet you this will just be a lot of Reaper pressure.
Could be. We did see the Observer hinting to us that maybe he could land it up there, like a liftoff. I don't know if that's going to be the case. We do want to talk about the fact that Maru has this long history of proxying more than, at times in StarCraft 2's history, more than all the other Terrans. There were, I think the year that he actually won like several GSLs in a row was mostly off the back of proxies.
Yes.
Another indicator of this being such a Maru-esque move is a lot of players proxy after they've lost a game.
Yes, that's true.
He's the kind of guy that wins a game and then will cheese you out in game 2.
Yeah. Well, he did a pretty quick attack in the last game, right? It was still a macro opener, but he attacked very quickly, and he's going to attack again here. Now, that right there is a very quick reactor. Is that going to hurt Oliveira, or is that going to help him? Being able to produce a couple of Reapers at a time, very, very good, but having none to start, that's a bit scary.
Yeah, I mean, the reactor, it takes a long time to make. The Terran is, defense-wise, a bit naked here. And as we all know, when Reapers come out, you just need a couple of them to stay alive and keep dealing damage, and the game can snowball very quickly.
Well, right now, Maru is waiting for that second Reaper. You never go in with the first one because it gives away what you're doing. You need that second one in case your opponent has a Reaper as well. So here comes Maru's second Reaper. It's time to jump up there, but the Reapers are only halfway done for Oliveira right now.
He's going to come in here. He can maybe deny. No, he does not deny the factory from finishing, but he gets that first SCV. Looks like the second SCV is going to be killed. He comes in, but he can't quite reach those Reapers. A third SCV is going to be dropped as this is getting so bad for Oliveira.
It really, really is. The Reapers are popping out. So he has 2 now against 3, which is a little bit better, but taking a lot of damage on his SCVs. 5 falling already.
He's going to have some more Reapers coming up. The Hellion is going to come out and greatly help with this attack. He does manage to escape and only drops 1. The regen's going to kick in momentarily, and those Reapers are soon going to heal.
So right now, it's 21 SCVs against 18. So it's a 3 to 4 SCV advantage for Maru. That's pretty significant, but Oliveira already has his command center doing pretty well. That SCV does get picked off. Can Oliveira cover his main and get that command center built?
This is quite the dilemma because with the command center being made, he's going to actually come out here and chase this. This is a pretty crazy move here by Oliveira. Is this actually an overextension? He's going to retreat back over here to where the rest of the barracks are. He needs a few more Reapers if he's going to take the fight. That was a wild move because it, of course, would be possible for Maru to just run up into the main and start killing everything up there.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility, but it looks like Oliveira going to guard that area for now, and did push him back. All right, I mean, if you're going to push him back and get your command center done, I guess we have to give it to him. It was a good move.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a roll of the dice there, but he pulls it off. He got in there. He did that damage. Very cool to see. He is going to send one Hellion up here. Luckily, Oliveira was able to actually lift the depots up and make sure that did not get inside and get any scouting done. But I have to say, Oliveira has basically survived the rush.
He really has, and he lost some SCVs for sure, but his command center is quite a bit quicker, so that is going to help him to catch up as far as that income goes. You can see definitely Maru ahead at this moment, but that is going to change around a little bit. This barracks going around trying to get a scout as to what's happening, and really, I mean, Oliveira, I think, did a pretty good job defending all set.
Yeah, and so now this game goes into basically a macro game. As is standard, and Maru really is the guy, by the way, that figured this part of the game out. When you proxy with 2 barracks, you send one back home and then you use the other one to scout. The year he won several GSLs in a row, we always saw him doing that. And it's a smart approach because this way you force your way in with the barracks, you look around and you identify, okay, you're not like making another command center, are you? Or anything else. You're not switching into mech, are you? And so he comes in here and gets that confirmed.
Well, one thing to mention is the barracks did not see that a medevac came out, so he might be a little bit surprised by this. Maru has one of his own. He's going to go ahead and do a 7 Reaper drop, as if that's something very common, but yeah, that's going to be kind of cool. This is a huge attack coming from Oliveira, though, and with Maru having a lot of units across the map, he's going to take a lot of damage. Look at this. Right now, running up that ramp, he's got to close that depot. Oh, it doesn't work. He gets up. There are double cyclones here, though.
Oh, but he manages to lock the rest of the units up inside the main, but there's so many. The cyclone looks like it might be taken out. He's kiting it so well so far.
Oh my gosh, and in that picture-in-picture right now, you see that Maru as well getting a ton of damage with his Reapers, picking off tech units as well. The Siege Tank and Marines of Oliveira breaking through the wall. This is insane damage on both sides.
We can see Oliveira right now continuing to get right into the heart of Maru's base. He's got a Banshee out. He's repaired the Cyclones, but does he have enough to actually take this on?
Yeah, hard to say. The Cyclones come up and try to snipe that medevac. They just barely don't get to the Banshee, trying to get some damage on the very few Marines that act as anti-air here. They don't quite get it. A lock-on from that Cyclone, backs up, but gets targeted down.
Maru taps out. GG! As Oliveira ties it up 1-1.
Oh, man! What a move from Oliveira. He blocks the proxy barracks play. He gets his expansion up, and he does a massive attack. Maru, a king of base trades, ends up not doing enough damage himself, not being able to hold on to that very vicious attack from Oliveira, and it is now tied up 1-1.
Very cool game to see, and what a different experience that was. I've never seen anybody rush out and try to chase down the Reapers that he knows are basically camping outside of his main. But it worked. He chased him away. It forced the barracks to supplant. And we had a situation that, I don't know about you, Artosis, but I can't remember a game that quite looked like that. Because Maru had suddenly 7 Reapers that weren't lost in a fight, right? So he loads them up into a medevac, and you were even saying, Artosis, like that's a thing. Sends it across the map. They unload. They start to fight and take out the SCVs. But of course, 7 Reapers, with just your production in your main and using your SCVs, you're going to lose a lot, but you can take the fight. On the other hand, Oliveira comes out. He pushes across the map. Gets the siege tank set up in the main. It looked like for a second Maru thought maybe he could like trap that and the other units in the main and try to win the fight that way. Maru messes up with the Cyclone targeting. The medevac stays alive, and ultimately Oliveira is in an I mean, there's no way that he can be stopped. He's on top of production in the early game of a TVT, and he takes that and ties it up 1-1.
Yeah, just too many high-quality units there for Oliveira, and Maru maybe thrown a little bit for a loop. We saw his good friend Ryung there, also a master of Terran versus Terran, maybe giving him a little pep chat there, whereas Oliveira just going to maybe wipe the sweat off his brow. You know, a lot of pressure here on Oliveira to deliver, but already, I mean, 1-1 in the first 2 games, that's gigantic.
Yeah, and what action-packed games these have been so far here. You know, TVT is, people have become so good at it, especially these two, where what was historically, you know, especially at the starting point of StarCraft 1, considered a slow and sometimes dull matchup by some viewers. StarCraft 2 TVT in 2023 is insane and action-packed.
It really is. There is a lot going on, a lot of positioning and running around and trying to do counterattacks and whatnot, which is what we've seen here really so far. You know, this is one thing I'm starting to think about here, Tasteless. The only matchup that Maru said in an interview on the first day that he was afraid of was Terran versus Terran. He realized there's a lot of Terran players right now that are very good at the matchup. He wasn't afraid of Zergs. He wasn't afraid of Protosses, but Terrans can be tough. And I know he's the best Terran versus Terran out there, but Oliveira making a case otherwise.
And I'll tell you what, Artosis, Oliveira is starting to do it here too. Every phase of this tournament, we'd watch him. He had some shaky moments, but he would always come back, fight his way through, and come out with a win. And, you know, as dominated as Maru was in game number 1, Oliveira takes that win. And let's see if he can keep going.
All right, we are going to go into game number 3. It's going to be on Neo Humanity. Let's get it going.
All right, guys, I want to hear some noise in the audience, in the upper left, in the red. He is Maru! And in the bottom right, in the blue, he is Oliveira! Earlier on the death segment, Zombie Grub brought something up that I really appreciated her saying, which was that this is another moment where Korea's position is under threat, and this time it's not from European Zergs.
Yeah.
It's from a Chinese Terran right now. And it's important to remind everybody that China has had a very long history of amazing, good StarCraft players.
They certainly have, but in more recent years, it's dwindled a little bit, right? Like, really, Oliveira is the only super well-known Chinese pro at this point. Like, he is the hope of the country. And for him to come up that strong in a situation where not that many of his countrymen are really pro gamers is even more impressive.
Yeah, I mean, if he wins here, the impact that we'll have is going to be massive because Chinese fans are super loyal, they're super supportive, and I mean, I'm sure he's already right now a big inspiration to a lot of people in his home country.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's a big inspiration to people all over the place to see him go on a run like this after not having the results that he probably dreamed of for many, many years. It's such a wonderful story. Now, he does poke up the ramp there, and he gets a scout. Maru started that command center on the high ground, maybe hoping that Oliveira wouldn't end up seeing it, but he sees it. It's not on location, so Oliveira will get like a slight jump ahead in this economy. But Maru does have that much faster factory.
Yeah, Maru, a little bit more conservative this game with that command center up in his main. And again, this is all pretty standard stuff here as far as builds go, so we're going to have a little bit more time pass before this game can really unpack itself and we know exactly what kind of strategies these people are going to do.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be any sort of very fast attack, especially not like the last game. Even from game one, which was a little bit more delayed, it doesn't look or feel like we'll really get an attack like that again from Maru.
So Maru this time around, you know, going with a very, very different opening. He did try his proxy. I think, you know, with Oliveira having that unique handling of actually barreling down the ramp and trying to take a fight, and forcing the barracks to lift off. Maru doesn't seem to be interested in trying that again this time around. But, you know, the thing about Maru that is so scary is that he has, by far, some of the best rushes out of all the players in all three of the races. But he also has maybe the best endgame ever.
You know? You're right about that. Yeah. Positionally, he's number one. Macro-wise, he's number one. Well, I mean, everyone saw he has the highest rated player card. Overall, the pros respect him more than everybody as far as his base skills go.
Okay, guns that down. The crowd goes wild.
Well, as soon as Oliveira gets a unit, you're like, all right, it's a real game. Let's go.
It's a sign.
But yeah, that was kind of just a sacrifice from Maru. You know, the Reapers don't really stay with a lot of power as the Terran versus Terran gets longer into it. They don't fight anything particularly well. So to jump it up, get that scout, see what's going on, that he's flipping it around to a tech lab on the starport. It's good information for Maru.
Yeah, certainly. We've got the medevac inbound here as a third command center is being processed here for Oliveira. We have to watch right now and see what production decisions are going to be made here from Maru. But if he starts to make more barracks, this would be a game where Oliveira is going to be expanding and Maru will have an opportunity to attack in and maybe do some damage.
Well, Maru actually boosting into the main base here, and he is going to go ahead and drop a mine out immediately. Burrows that mine, unburrows for a moment, lets it tank a little bit of damage, and we'll see what he lets it target. Oh, it actually hits that SCV, I think. Not so good. Oliveira cleaning that drop up beautifully.
Yeah, Maru had some pretty crafty micro work there, but ultimately Oliveira just smashed that attack. And you know, whenever you have a drop like that, if it doesn't do any damage at all, then it completely backfired. And even the medevac was picked off. That's huge.
That is really gigantic. Like the fact that he lost 3 units total this game is pretty crazy. Oliveira having just perfect defense.
And so if Maru was going to be aggressive, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to pull off over here. He might have to wait. Stim has started. Whereas for Oliveira, the stim is way ahead. So Oliveira is probably going to be a player who may try to activate on the map first. Maru really actually holding off on getting stim for quite a while to get up other tech.
Yeah, like that drop, for instance, but doesn't really do too much for him. Both sides getting their engineering bays around the same time. Maru's command center not that far behind Oliveira's, but Oliveira already does have the orbital ready. So we're going to go ahead and see him get that third base landed and really start pumping out the mules, really start getting the SCVs going.
Yeah, we have Maru setting the Raven out across the map. It's going to be going northbound, probably to try to chuck some auto turrets down and get some SCV kills. You never want to let that Raven energy go to waste.
Certainly not. He did throw down that one auto turret, but Oliveira trying to chase down the Raven, and he does get a lock on here. Can he actually get the kill? my God. Oliveira so on top of every aspect of this game.
He just scanned at the last second to make sure that was actually taken out. And you know, the Raven, it really is like the Swiss Army knife of the Terran army.
Yes.
There's so many things you can do with it, from throwing auto turrets down to disabling enemy units. All of that is gone. That Raven is out of the picture. It got no value. Whatever is going to come out of the starport is extremely important, because medevacs, you know, can do so much in TVT, but at the same time, Banshees are strong, but you have to have medevacs for your army. So actually taking that out is huge.
It really is. It's like the most important early game tech unit. It does so much for you. In fact, as Oliveira moves across, we may see some disables.
Yeah.
We may see him try to bust in here. All right, he scans, he sees the placement of 3 siege tanks, decides to go in a different direction. Oh my gosh, he's splitting his entire army. He is getting ready, possibly for a bust.
He has to scan. He's going to come in here. There's a counterattack here from Maru. It's going to be hitting all these SCVs. Meanwhile, Maru retreats. He's going to lift the command center. The tanks are running back. The disables come down.
Wow, that's 2 huge disables, and Oliveira going to town with his Marines, stimming forward so strongly into Maru's position. He's going to take out the Marines. He's going to take out the tanks as well.
He's going to keep moving forward here. Maru's going to be in a lot of trouble, Artosis.
He really is. His third has been pushed away. Oliveira getting into the natural, and now Maru with a drop into the main base. He already eliminated that third base mining situation, and now picking off a lot of SCVs, but Oliveira has enough to push him out.
And some of the production facilities right now are down over at this area. 2 barracks with reactors on them as Marines get gunned down as they come out.
Oh man, Maru still with so few Marines trying to get some damage done here, and Oliveira has lost a lot of SCVs, but at the same time, Oliveira pummeling this natural expansion. That 1 siege tank being repaired beautifully, and he does have to pull back a bit, but his siege tanks still shelling this base.
Combat shield's about to finish. Maru has to get rid of this push. The tanks continue to shell the command center.
Oh, he lifts it up. Maru right now only mining on 1 base, taking so much damage. Oliveira up 30 supply.
This is just unreal. Meanwhile, it looks like the 3rd command center for Oliveira has been landed. Maru going to go for a Hail Mary play, a huge counterattack across the map. He's got 2 medevacs full of units coming out now. Oliveira decides to back up and regroup. Oh no, excuse me, he's going to push back up. This is such a chaotic game.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Oliveira actually pulled very, very far back here and then went back up a little bit. So it seems like he knows something's happening. A scan goes down from Maru, decides better of dropping off in the natural, instead boosting into that main base. He needs to get some damage done here.
He's going to try to unload over here. I don't think there's enough Marines for Oliveira. He's going to stem. He's going to try to come in. The SCVs are being mowed down. It looks like there might just barely be enough Marines here. He's going to pull the SCVs as well. Maru picks up and is chased out.
All right, he got 6 SCVs there, but still a pretty good lead for Oliveira. Oliveira re-maneuvering his siege tanks here, but Maru brings the Liberator, a key unit from Katowice this week in Terran vs. Terran, and he will push those back.
All right, the Marines are going to come stim in here. He is going to be able to target down that tank, and it just barely is killed in the nick of time. But, you know, things are not getting better right now for Maru. Oliveira is actually continuing to shell into this main base.
Yeah, he's trying to get a lot of damage, but really that Liberator is being a hero unit. A lot of the Marines die for Oliveira. Now Maru coming up with the rest of his units into the main base and finally ends Oliveira's attack. But after all of this, Oliveira is up 14 SCVs. He's up a good 30 supply and still has that strong advantage with 2-2 almost done.
Maru is now going to try to push out. This is pretty crazy. I think his game plan is basically that Oliveira is desperate to finish the game. And so what he wants to do is basically go for a counterattack. But I mean, this is a mammoth army here for Oliveira. He has so much. Can you afford to have some of your army out on the map as Maru right now?
I think you can't afford not to, Tasteless. He has to make something happen. He's so far behind. Oliveira, though, with the counterattack, very quickly kills the 3rd base. Maru going to try to do the same.
He's going under this command center. I don't see any way that he can save that. Meanwhile, Oliveira's going to come in here. He takes out the tank. He's going to dive into the natural.
Oh, my God. He has so many Marines here stimming with those those 2-2 upgrades. Down goes that command center as well. GG! Oliveira takes the lead 2-1.
What is going on?
What is going on?
What is happening?
I'll tell you what's happening, Tasteless. The birth of possibly a new best player in the world.
He's halfway there. 2 wins. All you need is 4. Maru, I mean, here's the thing too, Artosis. He's not playing poorly.
No.
He looks very strong.
Yeah.
We've had finals we've casted before where, you know, one player is just kind of falling apart, whether it's nerves or exhaustion, or their play style just isn't working. That's not what's happening here. This is Maru playing at his very best.
Yeah, Maru really is peaking right now. Like, he is in great shape. He won GSL Code S Season 3 in 2022. And here he is getting to the finals relatively easily. Like, he had some road bumps, but he got right up here. He's been confident. But Oliveira is just on another level here in Katowice.
We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go to game number 4 in the grand finals of the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. We are back here in the StarCraft 2 Grand Finals of the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. Artosis, this could not be a crazier finals.
Really, already, I feel like this is one of the best finals that we've ever had, with Oliveira losing the first map in a pretty dominating fashion and coming back 2-0 against Maru?
It's strange because that first game from Maru was such a smashing.
Yes.
He completely dominated Oliveira, and I personally, in my mind, and I'm sure in the mind of a lot of people watching, you go, uh-oh, this does not look good.
Yep.
But we couldn't have been more wrong, as now Oliveira is in the lead. In the upper left, in the red, from Korea, he is Maru. In the bottom right, in the blue, from China, he is Oliveira.
Oliveira gaining a lot of new fans here this week, no doubt about that. Tasis, what happens if he starts to gain a lead in game number 4 against Maru? Can Maru keep his mentality solid?
I don't know what's going to happen. If Oliveira wins the next game, I'm going to look at you and realize, like, oh my God, Artosis, we're in the wrong timeline. Get in the DeLorean.
Yeah, it's so wild. I didn't think I would ever see something like this, like someone rise from kind of a middle of the road pro gamer, you know, someone he's good, he'll be at the tournament, but you don't think about him, to challenging Maru, to being ahead of Maru in the World Championships.
Yeah, I mean, this is truly the greatest dark horse story, excuse me, ever in the Intel Extreme Masters. And look, like I said before the break, he's done it twice. He's already halfway there.
Yeah.
He just needs to win 2 more. So what I'm looking for as we go into this game is, how exactly is Maru going to play? There are not very many best of 7s where Maru gets behind and stays behind.
No, certainly you're right about that. And one thing to mention about Maru, like, I think that he's going to be mentally fine, at least for now. Like, yeah, he lost those 2 games, but he has won so many championships. Things go wrong on those paths, and, you know, he's definitely got the skills to come back.
We should mention as well, Oliveira is, his ID before was Time. Many of you who've been watching StarCraft in years past may be wondering, who is this guy? This is Time, same player, just a new ID. And yeah, I mean, right now he's playing extremely well. These games, by the way, are almost impossible to recreate. They're very specific things that are happening in these games where there's a lot of moving parts, and each one stands on its own as a very unique experience. You know, some games somebody just gets a build order win. Other games it's kind of your standard back and forth late game macro game. These are some real cutthroat, rough TVTs where we're basically finishing the game right at mid game.
Yeah, maybe even before, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're attacking each other so early and so often. Like, the unit sets that they're fighting each other with are almost random. It's like, okay, this is what I have that survived, and that's what you made to try to hold me off, and now you're counterattacking with that, and it's not the standard stuff you'd normally see in a Terran versus Terran. Will it continue that way, or are we going to get any of the long positional macro games? Maybe that is a place where Maru can outplay Oliveira.
Yeah, but that would require Maru to be very inactive on the map, right? He'd have to be in a very defensive position, and you know, map control in TVT is extremely important. So we have Oliveira now out on the map. He's positioned so that he has 3 Reapers over here, just to the right of Maru's main base, and a Hellion to spot at the bottom. This doesn't mean he's going to try to attack in here, but it could simply be to try to catch any units that might move out. We've got the first medevac. Is this going to be a drop? It is. And look at this. A tank, Reapers moving out, Marines inside the medevac.
Ooh, Oliveira actually catches those Reapers, so he knows something is going on, and it's actually a very similar attack to what we saw in game number 1 here from Maru. He's bringing the tank, he's bringing the Marines, but some of his units got caught on the way there. So let's see if Oliveira has time to stop this. He goes ahead, gets the lock on this medevac. If he kills the medevac, it is huge, and the medevac goes down immediately.
And that means the tank and the Marines are isolated over here. He targets Oliveira gets it down.
Oh my God, in the meantime, his own Reapers in the main base getting some damage there as well. Maru with a smirk on his face because Oliveira not only shuts down his attack, but gets more damage with less units on the other side of the map.
It's doubly bad right now for Maru. Losing workers. The rush was shut down, and Medevac now out of the picture. And it seems like he's going to double down. It's actually very interesting having Maru show emotion on his face.
Yeah.
He's almost always expressionless.
Well, I mean, he's in a little bit of shock here because literally everything is going wrong for him and everything is going right for Oliveira. It's wild. Right now, Maru, like, he keeps coming across the map, but everything gets held off. Oliveira has plenty of units to defend. So I think Maru has to take a few risks here. You see him building a third command center on the expansion instead of the main base. He's got to start optimizing to try to catch up and maybe get ahead later on.
We're having a Reaper come in here and try to peek and see what's happening. I could not believe how well that fight went. Even the Cyclone living.
Yes.
Out of all the things, like, it literally could not have gone better for Oliveira. Now, again, Maru is very good when up against the ropes here, but right now, I can't imagine a game going better right now here for our Chinese player.
Oh, you're definitely right about that. Like, so far, this is the perfect opening. But, you know, Maru's actually, I think what Maru's doing here is very, very intelligent. Okay, so he went third command center right away, and he's going mostly Vikings and tanks. He's slowed down his own stim, he's slowing down Marine production, and he's just going to try to get these units that scale very well. The longer the game gets, the better Vikings and siege tanks are, and he's just going to try to get there. But Oliveira is coming in. He might be going for a kill move.
All right, he's going to come in here, probably try to disable any tank he can. He saves it, actually. He's got another disable already.
God.
The Vikings are going to be shot down. He throws down some auto turrets here in a tank.
Are those auto turrets going to have been enough? Siege is up. There was a disable there. One of his tanks lands his own Vikings, and GG! Oliveira is up 3-1!
Oh, my God. This is insane.
This is insane.
Might be the biggest upset finals in StarCraft 2 history.
I've never seen anyone have such a good time while playing the final match at the World Championships. Oliveira is getting into it. He is dominating.
This is insane. I can't believe this. And these are fast, action-packed TVTs. That was a masterful takedown of the drop and the excellent split-second decision-making to send the Reaper in to kill the SCVs. And for the first time, I think in my career, I've seen Maru looking broken.
Yeah, like the look on his face you see there, he's thinking, he maybe doesn't know what to do, which is never the case because he's considered the smartest Terran in the world. Dude, that's a whole nother side of this. Let's not forget, Oliveira is playing out of his mind and making this dream come true, but everyone agrees that Maru is like the player that doesn't have a world championship that should. Like, he's the guy, right? That everyone's just kind of waiting. It's like, well, you're going to win one eventually, and this year seemed to be lining up for him. But now Oliveira is on match point for the rest of the night.
There's no more mistakes allowed here for Maru. He has to win every single game. If he drops one, it's over, and Oliveira is the Intel Extreme Masters World Champion.
That is wild to think about. Maru still seems to be trying to figure out, how do I approach this next game? His life is on the line for the rest of the night. If he wants to be the world champion this year, he must go 3-0.
It's time for that comeback as we now go into our next game. All right, Katowice, let's make some noise. Down here in the bottom left from Korea, he is Maru. His opponent in the upper right in the blue from China, he is Oliveira.
Tasteless, you can see that the crowd is absolutely packed. So many StarCraft fans coming together here in Katowice. You guys are fantastic.
Yeah, it's so good to be down here and casting these games to you guys. And what a hell of a finals.
Yeah.
So, going into this next game, we have to remember that Maru does not have the luxury of trying any kind of weird all-ins or throwaway builds. One thing about a best of 7 is the bigger range you get in score. Like, let's say that you're up 3-0, right? And you just have to win one more game to win that best of 7. Well, then you can start doing really weird all-ins. You can throw a couple in because even if it doesn't work, okay, fine, then I'll go back and I'll play a macro game in the next game. But when you're down 1-3, you have to basically make every perfect decision for how you're going to open up.
Yes, and that's so tough, right? You can't actually account for everything. If your opponent is willing to take a couple risks, there's an area where you're going to be weak, and they might be able to find that out. Now, as of right now, looks like we are just going to have a Reaper expansion coming down here from Oliveira, whereas it is a Reaper into Factory here on Maru.
Remember that these games have been extremely explosive. Oftentimes with Maru actually the first to act. Like that last game that we saw back there, the tank tucked into the medevac along with a couple of Marines and moving out. That's not a normal build. We don't see that in all the TVTs. This seems to be something new he's been tinkering with. And in one of the games, that was how he actually beat Oliveira. But where does Maru want to take a game like this now? TVT, it does seem like you can't really be too passive in it. You have to be fairly active on the map. Counterattacks are so dangerous because Stim Marines in small numbers are so deadly and medevacs make them so mobile.
Also, if your opponent gets a strong position on you, if you're just kind of sitting there and they run up and siege near a command center, you're going to lose that area. Like, you're not going to be able to break an equal amount of units that are already positioned. So that does make it so that there's a lot of roaming about, a lot of little scuffles where you try to gain that edge, keep your opponent off your back, and maybe sneak into their side of the map.
For now, it looks like Maru's just going to go for a 1-1-1, just about to finish up his starport as the factory's producing Hellions and the barracks is producing Marines. Maru is going to just take a peek up here with the Reaper. Oliveira is ready to swat that away.
Doing a good job so far. He's got that bunker in the front. He was blocking the Reaper jump in. Maru just gets a little bit of information, but doesn't know too much about exactly what's going on in Oliveira's base.
So the first tank comes out. The medevac is almost done. I'm curious if Maru is going to go on the move again. And if he's going to try to be aggressive. He doesn't have to, right? But a lot of times with the first medevac, you see players do something. It's the same build. Same build as before.
Yeah. He's really liking this build. Very similar builds, at least going 1-1 so far. But with his life on the line, he's decided, let's do this again.
This is really interesting. You don't normally see Maru stick with the same build unless it's proxy racks a couple games in a row.
Yeah, sure.
So I guess he wants to try to hit the main. Okay, but you see Oliveira's already ready. He's got a siege tank up there.
Not just a siege tank, a Viking Tasteless to help push away that medevac. And as Maru sees it, he boosts out of there. But look, he didn't lose a lot of units. He lost like a Reaper, so it's not the end of the world what just happened there.
This is fine. This is totally fine because he manages to keep the medevac alive. It can be used later on. A Raven's being made. He might try to incorporate that with the next little jab in.
Yeah, Maru is bringing all of his units to the front there once again. Going to siege up on this bunker. So, that's a little bit annoying for Oliveira. He's going to go ahead, unload the bunker. Maybe he'll sell it as well. But Maru, are you going to get real damage right there? I don't think so. He's rotating around. He's trying to apply some pressure here to his opponent.
And one thing to note is that, that might have looked kind of like a bit of a weird skirmish, like he sieged up, shot the bunker, and backed up. He's actually taken a third base. So, he's generating the illusion of threats. And then he's going to pull back.
Yeah, it's a smart way to play, right?
Absolutely. Medevac going to come in here now. I believe there's one Hellion in here.
I think that's probably more for scouting than anything else. He does get to see basically what's going on. He sees that additional command center being built. So some good information here for Maru. He's traded a few units here and there to learn these things, and that's why he is down in supply a bit. But I don't think it's a big issue this game. This doesn't feel like the last 3 games that we saw. It's not like he's super far behind or anything.
Yeah, and I actually think this is so far the best game we've seen from Maru, but we need to see, now that it's Oliveira's turn, with his later expansion, he's going to have an opportunity to attack. How is Maru going to handle it? Most of Maru's losses have been backfired, aggression. This is a totally different situation.
And he's coming up right now. Oliveira is for that same type of attack that he wants to make, but when he scans here, I don't think he's going to go in. Like, it's basically the same units from Maru that Oliveira has. So again, to attack into something like that is incredibly difficult.
He's chasing that Cyclone, which is going to be pulling around here. Again, you want to watch those Ravens. They could try to shut down the tanks. Both players have that opportunity on either side. Oliveira unsieges again. Maru looks like he's going to try to set up a line of defense over here. Oliveira doesn't have to try to come in, but it looks like he might try to tiptoe these tanks forward.
Yeah, it sets up a little siege right here. That's going to be a little bit annoying. It looks like he's hitting the command center when he does get vision of it, right? So the tanks can shoot a little bit further than they can see, which is an important thing to keep in mind. That's why Vikings become so powerful. That Raven takes quite a bit of damage. Oliveira unsieging, deciding to go forward. He throws down the auto turrets. I don't know if this is going to end up working, but he does go forward. Maru pulling his SCVs, going forward with those Marines immediately. And will Oliveira actually be able to hold this position?
Yeah, the target firing there from Maru was just too good. He realized what's happening with the auto turrets and just target fired over the top. But you know what? These tanks are starting to get a little bit lower here, Artosis.
Yeah, Oliveira landing those Vikings down. They do deal a lot of damage to siege tanks, but somehow Maru keeps 3 tanks at very low health alive. That is a net win to Maru, I would say.
Oh, huge win there. Had he lost the tanks, it would have been more of a trade, but good juggling there with the medevacs. It's interesting to see that, Oliveira has an alternative approach to trying to break certain siege tank lines where he does use the auto turrets over the disable.
Yeah.
And, a lot of that, the burden then becomes on the defending player to manually target with the siege tanks over. Just let the, the tank default into whatever is going to be closest to them.
Well, right now, Maru deciding it's time to move out across the map. He probably is feeling pretty good about his position right now. He's been mining from that third base a little bit longer than Oliveira has had his. He's got those siege tanks as well that stayed alive during the fight. So here we go. He's going to move up. He scans. No tanks here. This is a problem for Oliveira.
Yeah, Oliveira is looking pretty weak right now. The bunker is taken out. I see 1 siege tank on the low ground, and that's not going to be there for very long.
Oh, man. Actually, Maru kind of overcommits with his Marines there, I want to say. That diving in on those tanks, he did deal a lot of damage to them, but he didn't quite kill them off. He lost a lot of Marines, and I think he has to back up.
Yeah, that was a bit of a lackluster attack. It didn't seem like there was much, much follow-up with that. He's going to try to pick off this 1 tank. Now, he could target the Vikings. Vikings are very slow at running away on the ground. But Maru is just overextending here, Artosis.
It feels like he tried to lay a trap there with that 1 tank. The Vikings landed, he stemmed up to try to get them, but Oliveira was pretty quick. He stemmed down, fought those Marines off a little bit, and saved a couple Vikings. So probably a good trade for him there.
So I would say Oliveira, not in a great spot this game, but Maru hasn't really been able to leverage his position. And honestly, there was some pretty bad moves, pretty bad plays tactically there from Maru outside of Oliveira's base. It looks like Maru's going to come around here and try to hit over here at the third. He's going to stim in now. I see 3 siege tanks here for Oliveira.
Let's see what Maru can get done. He targets one of them down immediately. Oh my gosh, stimming forward here. He gets another one. He will have to pull back the rest of his Marines here. A lot of them end up dying. Oliveira going with a counterattack towards that third base. Maru sees it coming and he lifts off. He's trying to run out, but a lot of SCVs going down.
He's taken out so many. He's now going to try to fight those Marines, and he does manage to take them out as well. A big interruption here for the income of Maru.
Oh, Maru comes down with his SCVs to fight with some Marines as well. Vikings pushing back the medevac, but loses quite a few SCVs. He does drop down below Oliveira's economy for now.
The tanks are now going to be pulled back. Big victory there for a very small attack from Oliveira. 16 SCVs have been killed.
Yeah, oh man, this game definitely a lot closer than the others though. Maru right now setting up that 4th base location with a planetary so that it's going to be able to defend itself a little bit. Now we're watching the 1st-person view here of Maru, spreading out his siege tanks, sieging them up, trying to keep an eye on anywhere that Oliveira could attack him.
Yeah, you can see he's so fast, so efficient. He is ahead in a base, by the way. So that's very comfortable for him. He's got an extra income. Oliveira's actually backed off. You know, he's needs to continue to try to keep growing here and moving out on the map, because if you're on 3 bases versus 4 and you stay on 3 bases, either you need to be attacking and winning, or you need to be double expanding yourself.
Well, I think Oliveira may have just taken his own 4th base there. We saw a sensor tower go up. Maru saw that as well. So trying to catch up. Looks like Maru kind of roaming the map here once again. Yeah, there is that 4th command center. It's not done quite yet, but very, very close. With the sensor towers there, though, it's very hard to attack. Your opponent will see you coming.
There is a blind spot for both players here in the middle of the map, and it looks like Oliveira may end up having an encounter here with Maru, stimming and coming in, but a flank over here on the side from Maru. Reinforcements for Oliveira coming down the ramp.
Yeah, Oliveira stimming up. He has a ton of Marines here, and in fact, he will start to beat the Marines, but the siege tanks adding so much firepower here. Oliveira loses a lot of Marines, but so does Maru.
Quite the exchange there. Maru decides to go back and lick his wounds. Some more tanks are going to unsiege over here as well. Oliveira, yeah, unsure of where to go now. He certainly doesn't want to try to push in any further. I think that would have been a pretty egregious overextension.
One thing I do want to mention, Oliveira actually getting his 3-3 Marine upgrades before Maru does. So that's something that will, you know, help him out quite a bit when he gets them. If you're up in upgrades, your Marines will fight far, far better. But of course, siege tanks going to be a key element of those attacks as well.
Both sides are doing a great job with keeping up with their tech. Upgrades are getting pretty crazy. The tank count overall is actually a lot better for Maru. Now that being said, you know, tanks are pretty brittle versus Marines if they ever get exposed in a spot where the Marines can gun them down. So if Oliveira is going to try to, you know, come out ahead, we want to watch and see if he can get any good tank snipes. That being said, it looks like Maru's actually gearing up for a push.
Yeah.
Trying to come up and hit this base over here right now.
That's really scary. That's a huge army from Maru. He is up in army supply by about 20 right now. And Oliveira has a little group of Marines to the sides. That is not going to be too useful in this fight right now.
Yeah, he's not. Oh, I see what he's doing. He's going to unsiege these tanks over here. He's going to go around up onto the high ground and start to shell this base. Now we can see these Marines over here in the picture-in-picture. They do take out this command center.
Yeah, but Maru is shelling a lot over here as well. Oliveira, though, clearing those tanks with a double medevac drop. Very well done on defense. And suddenly, the game looks pretty even.
Yeah. You know, it is a funny thing. Sometimes the much smaller counterattack does way more damage than the big heavy push. And that was one of those moments. I think Maru lost a decent amount of tanks. Is it possible that the tank count is actually ahead here for Oliveira? It is 10-6. He is in the lead. That is
a big deal. That is a big deal. 6 tanks will still do a good job defensively, and they're going to have to because Oliveira looks to be getting ready to attack. He's coming down. Maru backs up down a ramp. That is a very choked off area, so it would be hard for Oliveira to attack there.
Okay, he's going to try to come up onto the high ground. He scans again. And Oliveira, I think, is being pretty smart. He doesn't want to be in a position where he can ever overextend, so he backs up. And Maru also pulls away as well, I think wisely so.
Yeah, there is a lot of heavy army movement right now around the map. If you lose track of where your opponent's Marines and tanks are, you can die very, very quickly. That's why we're seeing these scans over and over, just double checking. Are you sitting there sieged? Are you moving around? Which direction are you going into? These are incredibly important things that they must keep track of.
Command center going to be planted over here at 12 o'clock. We're about to get to the 5th base up here for Oliveira, but Maru has plans to try to deny that. He's sieging up here on the low ground and scanning and hitting Oliveira's tanks.
Yeah, that's a very good siege there from Maru, picking off a couple tanks almost for free. Still roaming, looking like he wants to deny the space, but I don't think that he can, right? Like, Oliveira has a lot of tanks on the high ground. His Marine force very strong as well. In fact, both sides are maxed out with 3-3 upgrades on their Marines and +2 attack on their tanks.
Yeah, both players are basically growing up into the upper left corner of the map. Oliveira's position is a little bit more of a triangle here in the top right, where it seems like Maru is kind of going more up into a straight line. But as I say that, he also expands down into 6 o'clock. And let's not forget, Maru is very scary when it comes to these huge, intense macro games. He's very good at growing, pushing, and continuing to have good production.
He's incredibly fast, so that is definitely the case. Now, a little double medevac drop here. Picks off a few of those tanks, going to kill a couple turrets and whatnot, gets rid of the sensor tower. An okay move there from Maru. Just trying to keep pressure on once again.
Maru with a big attack over here. The tank is gunned down immediately. Is he going to try to shove in? No, he backs up and relocates, suffering very little losses.
I love these moves that we're seeing from Maru. He's actually starting to spend some of his Marine force. He's sending them in on these little missions that he knows that they're going to get destroyed during. And that's allowing him to tech towards the end game. You can see now a lot of starports are up. He's making a lot of Ravens. He's getting more Vikings. He's adding more starports. Because these, as the game gets longer, become more and more important.
He's going to shell down these rocks over here, trying to make the map a little bit more open so he can maybe have some more opportunities to hit. But I got to tell you, man, Maru is getting very scary as far as growth. We're having four Liberators at a time now come out here for Oliveira. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, a Liberator range as well. So Oliveira is going to try to break some tank lines. But will he have more Vikings? He's got 15 to 10. That's a big deal. Maru's Raven usage is going to have to be very strong if he wants to hold this incoming push.
Okay, he scans over here. And this is going to be a hard position to push into, Artosis. He does gun down the first Viking.
We have some great armor shreds going down. The Vikings going to town on each other. But right now, Oliveira does have more. Bringing forward those very important Liberators we were talking about. He's going to force some of these tanks to unsiege and move back.
Yeah, between the tanks and the Liberators, he can start to leapfrog forward here and try to crack open this position from Maru. We're seeing a lot of tanks get gunned down, Artosis.
We really are. The Liberators so great at breaking these positions. Still, he has to keep more Vikings. The Viking count very close on both sides. Maru trying to hold on right now as Oliveira tries to push forward, kills another tank with the Liberators, going after another one as well.
The tanks continue to come down. It seems to be working. I think Maru's going to lose this base. More Marines come in here, and they stem to break in.
Oh, he's going to be able to pick that off so quickly. An armor strike goes down on his Marines, but he continues to fight, chasing Maru back.
One base goes down, but Maru has so many more. He's now expanding over into the very far bottom right. He has 6 o'clock, as we can see over here. Where does he try to go? Maru has to try to remake his tanks. He has to get some kind of unit composition to address the threats that Oliveira is creating.
Maru only has 2 tanks right now, Tasis, and only 2 factories. This is a terrible situation. He must keep those tanks alive. Oliveira continues to push him back, controlling the pace of this game.
He's going to try to come in again. He does gun down some of those Vikings. The Vikings trying to pick off the medevacs if they can. There's a planetary here. SCVs can repair, but they need to stay behind.
Yeah, this is really rough, though. With that many siege tanks, he's going to lose the planetary as well. Maru massing up outside of his natural. He's lost control of these 2 bases. That's very painful, but he's still got a lot of supply. He's got a lot of SCVs. He's got a big army. He still has a chance in this game.
Maru's going to try to come down and engage with this army that's over here. A big pickup. He's going to go into the main. He's going to dive on the infrastructure. Meanwhile, Maru does get the disables in, inches in with the tanks, and starts to pick off the position Oliveira has.
Oh, I love this drop from Oliveira, though. Nothing in here for Maru. He does bring up a couple siege tanks, but a lot of his reactors getting picked off, and then Oliveira gets out of the area. He's just hurting the production of Maru.
The SCVs that fled the 6 o'clock position are now mining over here in the very far bottom right, but this base is going to go down as well. Oliveira continuing to grow. He's actually expanded just 1 screenshot north of where we were a second ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Oliveira getting more bases at this point, still controlling the map, still shelling down Maru bases. I think right now he feels it. He's getting closer and closer to being the world champion.
Yeah, the command center's getting so low. A big push here in the middle of the map. Maru trying to fight back. I don't see very Marines to defend. I think Maru might be able to break into this position.
You might be right about that. Oh, but it looks like Oliveira coming back at the side with his army. Gets a great armor shred off. And here we go. Disables on all these tanks. Maru breaking through.
He's coming through. He's just destroying this position right on top of these starports. Another siege tank comes up. Maru's going to have to try to move his tanks in a little bit further, but if he missteps, Oliveira can dive in and take those all out.
That's right. Look at these Vikings of Oliveira. He's trying to fight right now, and in fact, he does have more Vikings. The armor strike goes down, but I don't know that that will be enough. I think he's going to win this air battle, and Maru may have to flee once again.
Yeah, I think even with the weakened Vikings, you just have too many. It's just a game of math right now. And without those Vikings, it's very hard to spot for your own tanks.
Not just that, as soon as he won the Viking battle, 4 more Liberators. He's going to use those to push those tanks back. But in the meantime, Maru rotating his army to the side will kill off another base.
He tries to come in and dive on that tank, but there's too many Marines. He might be able to protect it. More tanks coming up right now here for Oliveira.
Oh, some great disables go down. Picks off a couple more siege tanks as well. The Liberators come forward, but Maru so quick with his unsiege, backing up. And now he's going to do to Oliveira what Oliveira did to him. He can pick off even more bases.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much of the map that Oliveira has right now.
He actually didn't know that base was taken, Tasos. He could have killed that.
He doesn't even realize how behind he is right now.
Oh, no. Bad news for Maru.
Yeah, he doesn't know about this base over here in the bottom right as well.
Well, he's going to go somewhere. Let's see if he checks. He stims some Marines up. He sees the planetary. This is certainly something that Maru can attack.
Yeah, Oliveira is going to go for a counterattack here. You know, when you're ahead in bases, sometimes the counterattack with everything can be a little bit stronger because the person who's doing the initial attack just has more locations they have to try to wipe out.
Yeah, that does occur. Oh, a quick pickoff right there from Oliveira. He's doing a massive counterattack. He's going to Maru's main base.
He's going to go in here and kill all the factories and barracks.
This is really bad news for Maru as these tanks come up for Oliveira. He sets up some beautiful Liberators as well, saying, no, you can't siege there. Maru has to walk all the way around, but is this breakable?
He has all the tanks disabled here. The Marines are going to come down and fight. They're all going to get thinned out. And now the tanks get destroyed in an insane moment.
That is perhaps the best break I have ever seen from an invincible position. Maru making some magic, keeping himself in the game, but just barely so.
Now Maru's supply is way down right now. Oliveira basically lost his main army. He's really hurting. But again, the income is so high, he can start to try to remake that. But Artosis, I'm blown away at the skill that Maru exhibited there. I thought that was going to be the neck-breaking move to get in the main with those siege tanks, but he handled it perfectly.
I don't think anyone else in the world could have lived through that. That was the most beautiful positional play I've ever seen. But Oliveira continues to have an advantage, way more supply. Maru moving up through the map. It's hard to even keep track of how many bases they have at this point. There are command centers going up and going down everywhere as these two just pummel each other.
It looks like already Oliveira has managed to remake most of his army. The tank count is certainly going to be lower, though. And so we're going to need to see, how he tries to handle this. For the time being, though, it looks like Maru growing into the bottom center. He's looking pretty healthy. Oliveira's actually taken the very upper left corner. I feel like I don't even remember when that base was taken out, but now he's got it. So they traded spots. There's actually been so much action happening on the map.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth with these expansions. The Liberators being used for some harassment as well. Maru is going to clean that up. And Maru is really focusing very heavily on this Raven production. His Raven spellcasting is going to be so key both in defense and in breaking other locations.
Oliveira.
Hold on, those tanks, they went the wrong way, and Oliveira instantly jumps on them.
Oh my God, they're trying to get back, but they can't, and so many are picked off. Siege mode is up. Does he have enough? Medevac's covering most of this fight.
It's hard to say even what's going on here, but Oliveira takes it. Oliveira is the world champion.
Katowice, give it up for Oliveira. He is your Intel Extreme Masters World Champion.
said this felt like a dream. Well, you are not waking up because I have to tell you something. You are the Intel Extreme Masters World Champion.
I mean, like many people sometimes tell me like, you should finish StarCraft 2, you should retire, and maybe, like you should give up. But look at me now.